How's it going, folks? Now, this type of topic I had to retake again. I don't know why it stopped on my previous video. So I'll just like to expand a bit more, but focus more of the local and discover the nature versus nurture and what has gone through. Now, the previous video, I only talked about, Western world it's designed to be dysfunctional, but also I wanted to further look down into as in a work labor forcement. Now, as myself, I'm actually considered one of them and somehow transitioned to a labor market or working hard, in a later age. But what I see, what I learned, what I experienced, you learn mistakes all the way through till today. And so, I work with many migrants, I work with international students, I work with those who are newly arrived as well. And I get to see how hard they work, how hustled they are, and start a family and everything. And as well, there's a huge, around the world, there's a huge problem in the first world country especially. There's a huge problem with unemployment rate within the youth or young adults, all right? So this is a huge problem because in the future, if they don't get in the job market in the long term, well, you guys just going to create more social welfare among these people. But what I'm trying to talk about in this video, try to look even deeper and why we are being outcompeted by the third world country. Now, I've written a long description on my previous video on the Western dysfunctional workforce, dysfunctional, and I'll explain it here. So, I won't talk about what has happened, what I said on the other video, but I'll talk about more extended version of it. So basically, I remember in childhood, it's encouraged among our peers saying that you can sue that person, you can sue that person, you get a lot of money. At a very young age, it's very encouraging to have this sort of snitching or dobbing behavior and things like that. Now, you have that as well, but also what has created for you. Let's just say if you win or, you win the court case or things like that. Another issue is the fact that, there's a very normal thing to say, oh, if you're injured, claim a work cover. Don't worry, rip them even harder. Rip them $200,000 or $300,000. And in my opinion, I don't think this is a good way to do that unless you're a really, really, really long-term severe injury. Absolutely no choice, but people are taking advantage, and therefore now when you go through employment hiring, there's one of the questions: have you did a work cover claim? All right, that's one of the questions. Or do you have pre-existing injury? That's one of them as well. So you got all that as well. So when I look through and I look through even deeper, look through it, and what was the other one? And you look at, especially it's very deeply embedded in a childhood, growing up settings, such as, in the Western world, we do not encourage or perhaps fantasize authoritarian parenting style, which includes shouting, yelling, smacking, hitting, discipline the child. Where nowadays a soft approach, and they said about the studies, what's the long-term effect. Now, recent days, I just finished watching an interview with Eric Trump, who is one of the Donald Trump child, and he stated how his mother raised the child, didn't raise in Australia, in America. They raised their child into hardship of Eastern European. I don't know which country it is. Correct me down below in the comments. And, they chuck him to a good school or boarding school, and discipline as well adequate, and get smacked by the mom and as well with the school and everything to straighten themselves. And he even said that if it wasn't for that sort of environment or nature versus nurture, he wouldn't be where he is today. And unfortunately in today, that's what is classified as child abuse. So that's the way how it is. But that just shows the notion where the society is weakened, no hit, no policy, do whatever you want. Child is growing up to do whatever you want. Nowadays it's even harder with the instant gratification, with the technological devices, electronic devices, which you guys know what it is. And as well, they're very rebel against the family, because if they get smacked, they get hit, they say, I'll call the police. That's because that's what I've been told by my teachers and X, Y, and Z. So if parents are fearful or not doing that sort of activities to their child, unlike those who are newly arrived migrants, they still hit their child. It's got one aspect of that, and when you have that sort of effect on that child, the child does not know what's hardship. Child, whenever they nag or scream or whatever, they get what they want from the parents, because parents does not know how to deal with it properly. I can't say all parents are like that, but the quick easy solution is to give, and as well, what's that word, and just to give in and give up, and not knowing how to, or keep a distance on communicating with the child, because now the child is getting more freedom and more a lot more power, knowing that the states are behind them if anything goes wrong with them, and perhaps knowing that they my friends are doing the same thing. And when they grow up, they usually are not prepared for being what's it called, rat race society that we in nowadays, by year, where we have more skilled migrants and lower pay wages, and as well unemployment rate in youth is very, very high, and how it destroys everything, even in relationship. A man is like can't be masculine, can't be patriarchal, can't be a leadership. We just learn to be silent and quiet and obedient and take it what it is. And ladies are taking a different whole approach when they watching movies, and what they've been learned and how they've been taught, or how to just to divorce, or how to be like chase Australia dream, or just divorce a couple of times. And for my opinion, it's like their new Australia dream is to divorce a couple of guys and get a house, or guy have to go through playing video games and not entering the dating game, and just give up on the society. And what's been academia is going through is favor more females. And as well, if a worker stare at a lady's breasts, or find them attractive, or try catcalling, that's classified as sexual harassment in the workplace, especially in the white collar industry. And women's taking advantage, where at the day one in high school, they've learned the tricks of the trade and their peers, how to do this and how to do that in a dysfunctional way. It's not family orientated, and it's very dysfunctional. Everyone's dysfunctional. Everyone's just banging like rabbits, and no commitment. And as well, there's no boundaries, where they are their own above on everything. And that sort of behavior, and that sort of what it does, it creates a lot more dysfunctional and weakens the job market, and being out competed by the foreign workers, migrant workers, or perhaps a lot of migrant and foreign workers saying that Australian workers tend to be lazy, or perhaps not hardworking, or perhaps they are, what's that word? Liking to don't want to work weekends, overtime, like to have holidays, X, Y, and Z. And that's the culture, that's the narrative, and that's why it's being outcompeted. And if they get a lower pay, they won't get the job. That's why it's been defeated in this modern world. They're being treated unfairly, and they stand up. They can go talk to the Fair Work Australia, or perhaps dob into a high official government, and it makes them look bad because being a dobber. So many employers out there don't like to hire local people. One, they complain too much. Two, they know their rights, and if they see something wrong, they'll complain it to the high officials out there, and causing drama, and not working hard, or complaining, taking more holidays, or not, So this is the notion that we see as a Western worker, right? In comparison to those who are coming from a very hungered, and bringing their sort of aggression, tribal behavior, and as well their work ethics in competing with the locals, which is a big struggle. And that's why I believe that the Western locals, the Western world is a huge crumble. If it wasn't for the migrants, the country wouldn't survive. With this COVID-19 going on, I don't know how many people are going to wake up to it, but perhaps the ones going to survive the best and the highest, and the nature, they do not care. The nature versus nurture is always will always be the foreign workers, and that's what the skilled migrant or newly arrived migrant, in compared to those like generation 1, 2, 3, generation born in Australia or Western world, has always been weakened. Now, that's the notion of it. It's sad, but it is true. But I wish that things could change. But now employers are very very picky on selecting of their workers because there's holiday pay. There's too much rights for workers in comparison with the employers, and they got to pick and choose the worker. Obviously, they're going to pick the best of the best, obedient and things like that. And I'm currently in the middle of complaining too much at my workplace, and I think I need to slow that pace down, shut my eyes, and just do my work. That sort of notion. Because the more vocal am I, the more people look at me and say I'm a troublemaker. And I learned all this when in the high school, university, TAFE. They've been telling us, if you see a problem, speak out, change the behavior. And the ones that are going to be damaged career, it's not them, it's me. But unfortunately, that's what we've been taught in school. So it's a learned harsh reality to understand the whole thing. And what can I say? There's always someone out there who's willing to take your position or stab you on the back and take that position with the workplace bully, or perhaps climbing the corporate ladder or the hierarchy workforce. So that's been said. I don't know much more on top of my head, but you can imagine what's it like when a child's been upbringing and all the way through, especially with the women's rights, but especially with the feminist rights. They're giving too much power for females to take advantage of it, and not knowing how much it creates damage. In the further end, the ones that's going to benefit the most is pretty much the social services. The ones that are losing the most is probably the government, where a good, happy family or relationship or a child should have been taught better, and not to create more problems and relying on the government help. That's why Western world has fallen behind, where people rely on the government, not on its own people's willpower to overcome struggles. Because now we're becoming a nanny state. If there's something goes wrong, government, can you help me? Government, can you do this? Government, can you do that? Government, can you do this? And if we don't like them, we'll vote them out, and we'll vote another government that can be our interest. Now, I can't speak much about the COVID-19. Unfortunately, it is a deserving group where everyone should be having the money, but I'm not too happy the way how the government maintain how it is, not looking after or doing their duties properly, or outsource their services to proper assessment, where now the whole city or the whole state is suffering. That's the video. And obviously with this COVID, it's going to weaken even more people.